Herzlich willkommen beim Gotta Go Heal Podcast. Ich bin Hannah und das ist dein Safe Space für echte Heilung und Transformation. Hier sind wir endlich real. Lass uns gemeinsam wachsen, neue Wege gehen und die beste Version von uns selbst werden. Bereit für den nächsten Schritt? Let's go heal.
Yeah, guys, I stopped the conversation with a sentence, nice chat.
How to end a date.
After an hour talking to a guy, I was like, nice chat.
Nice chat. Let's continue never. See you never.
See you never.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh my God. You need to create a reel out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Backstage
With Klaudia and
If you're
Hannah.
wondering what we are talking about before we start the podcast, it's not like we are just trying to figure out what we're going to say and really come up with ideas, examples, like you probably think that we are doing, just getting ready. No, we're just like chilled, talking about guys and just having fun and laughing.
You know what? This is going to be the start of the episode, I feel like. This is going to be it.
Is it?
Probably
We've already started.
So we've already started. So hello guys and welcome back to the Gotta Go Heal podcast. So we figured it might be fun to start, not with a hello guys, but maybe we're going to keep this inside. We'll see. But we have a hello guys and welcome back to the podcast. We're happy to have you here. I'm happy to have you here, Klaudia.
Thank you.
And do you want to say hello to them in German?
Of course. Morgen. Wie geht's, meine Freunde? Lieben wir. Let's just start from this.
This is just my favorite thing. So I taught her das lieben wir, which is actually, like, love it.
Yeah.
So
And ich liebe euch.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. You're such a good student.
Yeah.
It's crazy. She's really good. Just
give me some time and in 1 year we will be talking only in German.
It's funny that you say that because to this morning I was waking up and I was already thinking about how I'm going to introduce everything. And I thought of the sentence telling them, you just wait. In 1 year, we're going to sit here and record German one.
Exactly. And I will be like, ich bin euch Host.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Ich bin euer Host. Yeah.
Lieben wir.
And you know what else we love? Today's topic.
Yes.
Lieben wir. Because today's topic is about emotional release. And guys, we had a lot of emotional releases recently in this exact room. But we Palo Santo'd, so there's like the energy is gone, the heavy energy is gone. But we had a lot of emotional releases, anger release to be specific. So today's topic is about emotional release. It's like the one-on-one, how to release emotions, what you should know about it, how it can look like, your best tips, because you have more experience than I do.
Yeah.
I've recently uncovered my anger. So I'm on the next level.
I'm so proud of you, to be honest.
I'm proud of me as well, because we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give a lot of examples. You're probably going to give a lot of examples, which is nice because sometimes you just, for people, it's just like, okay, what is an emotional release? What does it look like? Feel your emotions, feel your feelings. Like you hear this a lot, but it's like, tell me more. Like how does exactly for me, for example, I always want to know, okay, so what do I do? Do I scream? How we're going to talk about this because we're in a hotel room and we both had an anger release. So it's like, okay, there are rooms everywhere. There are people walking around. Mm-hmm. So you have to.
And we are staying at the same room. We normally stay in different rooms, even if we stay at the same hotel. But this time we just felt it was like
it was necessary.
It was necessary.
The things that came up. Yeah, we know why. Yeah. We needed this emotional support.
Exactly. And to be honest, I am happy that we are sharing our experiences right now with people that are listening to us because we are not perfect. And there are so many people on the internet. I mean, every person on the internet also struggles with something, even if they are showing this perfect lifestyle without hustle, without struggles, without any issues and dilemmas. And I think we just want to be authentic and we want to be raw. And we want you guys to feel very open and very comfortable around us.
Yeah.
That's why we want to share what we've been going through recently.
Yeah. And be very open about it. Yeah. Because I haven't talked much to family at all. Sorry for that. but I've talked to my mom. But yeah, we have each other. We have this. It's good because now we can share experiences here. Probably some of you need to hear it or listen to it and take something from it. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting topic, and I'm already I'm excited to go into it. So yeah, I figured we could start from the basics like we sometimes do in these episodes. So I feel a lot of people have heard about it, emotional release. Maybe some of you haven't, so maybe it's a good episode to start. So what is an emotional release in the terms of how we talk about it? Because releasing emotions can be so many things.
Yeah.
Crying, shouting, moving, whatever. But in the terms of how we use it, what would you say is an emotional release?
Maybe let's start from what is emotion?
Oh, yeah. The real basics. What is an emotion?
What is an emotion? Emotion is just energy in motion. It's a certain charge. It's an energy that builds up in our bones, our muscles, in our body as a response of a trigger. So what is an emotional release? It's basically a release, discharge of this energy that builds up in your body as a response to something. So we have emotions, and we have to have emotions in order to experience our reality. Without emotions, we wouldn't be able to understand what love is, what gives us pleasure, what frustrates us, what we want, what we don't want. That's why we have emotions. This is something that is human-like. This is something that is basically in our body and needs to be produced by our body in order to understand this human reality and this human experience. Some people run away from experiencing emotions because they are too difficult to handle. But in reality, we need to experience emotions because otherwise we would be robots.
Yeah.
We would be living in a science fiction movie.
Yeah, true.
Basically. And it's okay, it's okay to feel. It's okay to even sometimes run away from feeling emotions. But it's an important topic to just talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Starting from basics and then moving to how to release, how to feel, how to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
Because it's just about discharging this energy that's built up in our bones as a response to the trigger.
Yeah. And it can look differently from person to person. And yeah, it's very a personal experience. So we touched already a little bit on it. So why is it important to release them? Because you could just say, whatever, I can't be bothered with this emotional release. What these two girls are telling me right now, it's just too much work. What would you tell a person who thinks like that?
First of all, let's start from understanding. So we know why we have feelings, why we have emotions. And it's very natural to just feel emotions. But what's happening when we don't allow ourselves to feel emotions? Basically, these emotions get trapped in our body. They are stored in our body. And when they get stored in our body, they create disease and dysfunctions. Because this energy charge builds up in your cells, in your bones, in your muscles, and then it creates stiffness. And then later it can lead to different diseases. So it's important to release it regularly and just be free from it. Because just imagine yourself if you kept eating food, but you wouldn't be releasing that.
Yeah, going to the toilet, basically.
Basically, you would die.
It's toxic. It's like
It would create so much inflammation. And the same is happening with emotions. This is just the energy that gets stuck in your body.
It's a good analogy.
And then if you don't release it, then it's just going to build up and create these diseases, which are here to show us where is the issue.
Yeah.
These diseases are this basically scream for attention.
Yeah.
There's something going on and I want you to look at it. The body is screaming, just look at me. I want to show you something. I want you to release it, because the body doesn't get sick because it wants to get sick.
Yeah.
The body is here to just make us live and survive. So obviously it wants us to be free from it. So if the body doesn't feel free from it, it's going to show this in the form of a disease so that we can see with our human eyes that we are struggling with something. That's why it's so important to release it on a regular basis, but also to go back in time and see what emotions are trapped from your childhood, but also from your ancestral lineage, from your family. Because we are created, we are born created from the cells that once were in our parents' body.
And if you want to dive deeper into that topic, we already recorded an episode, our first episode on a podcast. It's the 3rd episode. And you can listen to it, and we dive more into this, how emotions can make you sick. And we also dive into, like ancestral trauma and with my gut issues. So if you're more interested in that topic, or you can finish listening to this one and afterwards go to the other one. So that's a good one. Yeah.
So it's important to go back in time and look at emotions from that perspective, because very often what we are experiencing here and now is a response to what was not experienced in the past.
Yeah.
And we just get this trigger. Something triggers us. It may be a little thing. And it's important not to judge ourselves for it, because we may be sitting and, I don't know, a friend can say something to us. Or let's say that you're just sitting with a friend and a friend is telling you, oh, I'm just like dating this guy and I'm just having so much fun. But the other friend is feeling like, I want to date this person too. And what is going on? Why I cannot date this person? And this creates trigger. It's nothing personal. It's just a response to something that happened in the past. Maybe I wasn't seen. Maybe I wasn't heard. Maybe there was something about being left alone. And this is just a trigger that is causing me to feel that anger, that frustration once again. And it's important to not focus on the trigger itself, like what happened in our reality here and now. It's important to feel the emotion, because we don't have to understand it to feel it and release it. We just have to allow ourselves to have the space where we can fully tune into the feeling, and without any judgment, just allow ourselves to feel it. Just feel it, and your body will tell you what it wants to do in order to release it.
Yeah. So my next question would be like, when and how do we know when to release it? And then I'm going to give an example, because we were in Django and we were sitting at breakfast. Like the best conversations for us always happen at breakfast. And then we were talking about this whole dating experience and stuff. And then I just felt triggered. I was like, this topic is annoying me.
And I saw it.
Yeah, and you were like,
you were moving.
I was moving. It was normally like we sit here and then I was like scratching myself and just moving.
Your legs.
Yeah, and it's always good to have someone like Klaudia next to you, because you were like, oh, something is triggering you. And I was like, yeah, I feel it, because I was I was frustrated and annoyed at this situation with the guys, because I'm going to be honest, I was like texting with a few and then they just stopped, or like they would ask me out on a date and then they wouldn't respond. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is it? And you were dating, and it was like, okay. Like you said in this example, like you get triggered, or we was talking and I was like, yeah, this topic is annoying, because normal, all these topics, the beliefs that came up before that, I was like, yeah, let's dig into it. I was very curious. Okay, I'm going to journal about it. And with the boys, I was like, I can't even, like, what is it? I don't even want to go into it. It's just annoying. So I felt the trigger and I was like, okay. And then you told me like, oh, you should go to your room and release it. And I was like, yeah, I feel it. And this was actually the first time I was like packing my things and went to my room immediately. And I felt for the first time that some of these anger feelings came up, because guys, I don't have any access to my anger up until now. It was always about sadness for me. I was crying so much during but when I had an emotional release, was always with sadness linked to like tears and just crying. And like we said, an emotional release can look different ways. Like for me, sometimes I just put on music and then I was just crying. So yeah, I knew that there was a lot of sadness, but I also knew that I had a lot of anger inside me, because you told me, other healers told me. And so it was the first time I went to my room and I really felt it. I felt like frustrated. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? And I was just running around in the room and just hitting the pillow. I didn't scream that much because that's sometimes we can get into your tips, but sometimes it's hard when maybe someone can hear you. But yeah, so this is when you feel it, and then I had the space to release it, because sometimes you're at work, for example, and someone triggers you and it's like, oh, I feel it coming up. And that's probably like, I would want us to talk about this more, like how do we know when to release it? Like for me now, I'm more in tune with my body. I haven't been my whole life, basically. Now I'm learning more to listen to my body. So I felt it, but you also felt it. So you were like, okay, I feel like you need to go. If I would have sat there alone, I probably I would be annoyed, but I don't know, I would have done something else.
You would
But
suppress it.
Yeah, probably would suppress it. That's the first thing.
Exactly. That's what people do. Usually when people start to feel uncomfortable with what they feel, so there is a trigger, there is a reaction to a trigger in a form of emotion. This doesn't have to be always anger or sadness. Sometimes it's just a discomfort.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a disgust. Sometimes it may be just a frustration, or you're just feeling uncomfortable and you don't know what's going on. And usually people tend to suppress it, especially if they are in a public space or somewhere around other people. So I would say that just notice it.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel that there is something that is going on, just stop for a second and notice what's going on, because we tend to grab our phone, we tend to get up and then to talk someone, because this is just automatic reaction to escape what is going on and what's being felt inside. So it is important to notice it. Some people, it's interesting because some people ask me, so how do I release? If I tell them, you have a lot of anger inside of you, and then the first question is, how do I release it? They approach it as this is a task that I need to solve.
Exactly. That's how I saw it. I was like, I don't what should I do? Like, I don't,
Yeah. And in reality, I tell the way it looks like, you just wait for the trigger. I tell them, just wait for the trigger and allow yourself to feel what you feel. Because, for example, with you, you were repressing and suppressing so many emotions since a very young age. And it doesn't happen like in 1 second that you open up and you feel anger and you want to scream, because you have so much resistance, so much protection around your emotions that it doesn't come out easily. You need to work on it, and by working on it, I mean just allowing yourself to feel even a little bit.
Yeah, little by little.
Little by little, just allow yourself to feel and start feeling comfortable with feeling. Because some people, they are so scared of judgment that obviously if I tell them scream, they will shut down. They will distance themselves immediately. We gave this, like we were talking and we just gave each other this example that for you, it was about creating that vessel, like spreading the vessel for the anger to come up. It was in the beginning, it was just a little bit. Then the vessel widened, broadened, and then there was more anger that could come up, like with volcanic eruption, right? So even if it's just a little bit, it's okay. You don't have to experience this huge, massive explosion right away. And if it's just something so simple, so small, it's still a release.
Yes.
Don't expect massive releases and don't judge yourself. Oh, so I just cried for 5 minutes and is it a release? I didn't even feel it that much.
Yeah.
It was a release. Yeah. But you just allowed yourself to release this much, and this is okay.
Yeah, and you're going to build up. Yeah, like for me, like it's been non-existent, the vessel. Yeah. And then it got a little bit bigger and bigger. And the last release I had exactly in this room, which was 2 days ago, I was releasing a lot. And for me, it was like, what is it? It was nice to feel it finally, because I knew it was stuck in my body and I was like, it was trapped. And so I finally have access to it. But now at the same time, I know, the vessel is getting bigger. Like, what is the next release? How does this going to look like? Because you should have seen me. Like, well, it was crazy, but it was good. It was good. And we're good now. It's so interesting. And also with the different emotions, I want to go into that because for me, it was like we talked about today actually at breakfast for me, it was a lot of sadness. For me, it was more accessible to get to my tears, to my sadness. And you then mentioned something that the sadness is from the heart. So maybe it's more up, so more accessible, and like the anger is deep down. So maybe we can talk about this, like how different emotions are more easy to access for different people. How does that look like?
I would love to talk about it. With sadness, it's usually the first emotion that comes up. And I have from the scientific perspective, sadness is usually the first emotion that comes up. And later there is a huge amount of anger. And after that, again, sadness, and then anger, sadness and anger. Sometimes it may be anger and a sadness, anger and a sadness. But I feel that our society taught girls not to be aggressive, and anger is is directly interlinked with aggression,
Yeah.
with being violent, with showing and expressing that
I was
we are
hitting myself.
angry.
Yeah.
Exactly. We are angry and we can be angry. So we have been taught to believe that we need to be pretty, we need to behave, that being angry being angry and being a girl is something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, watch out, like behave. Like, what are you doing? What is even this? And that's why we resist anger. I have goosebumps on my body.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why we resist anger. So that's why it's so easy for girls to cry, because it's prettier.
Yeah.
And
so
that's
other
how
little
we
girls
release
cry.
Yes, girls are crying, and this is the way it is. She's just gonna cry, and she's going to be okay.
That's true. That's so true.
But with boys, it's the opposite. Because boys are accepted by being angry and being violent. It's actually normal.
And being loud and shouting.
Yeah. And they go and they fight with other boys.
Yes.
That's how they release
so
anger.
True.
But it's so difficult for them to cry and to feel sadness.
Because then there comes the shame with the boys. Oh, there's a boy crying.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, like boys don't cry. So I think it is, what was your question?
Yeah, it was actually if they're like at different stages,
layers.
but it makes now sense because we were talking at breakfast more on the chakra level, because sadness is more heart and then anger is more solar plexus, so more down.
Yes.
But from this societal perspective, it makes also a lot of sense for like men and women or whatever you identify with.
But I work with people, and I think this is very normal. Sometimes girls have more access to anger. They're more expressive with anger. But they hold on, like they suppress sadness.
And why do you think that is?
I think it is because they were taught to be strong. So it's easier for them to be strong, not to be vulnerable, because sadness is a sign of vulnerability. So they are taught to be strong and always fight for themselves. That's why they scream, they shout, they are not scared to show their opinion. Sometimes they may manipulate. They can be very aggressive in a form of like talking. The way they talk, they swear a lot, curse. And for some, it is the total opposite. So they were taught to be those good girls, look nice, just behave.
Yeah.
So it's easier for them to release it in the form of emotion, like crying and sadness, because they're quieter.
Yeah.
And they never fought for themselves. They never had to like fight for their rights. They were like always just those little small girls that had to just behave.
Yeah.
And for them to scream, to show anger, to show disapproval to something, it's something that they need to access in time. Yeah.
It's probably because I resonate with the latter one, like with the being the good girl, not speaking up for yourself. And it's probably also linked to the people pleasing. So maybe some of you guys can like journal about it, or like ask yourself, maybe if you are a people pleaser, are you more on the side like maybe you would be okay with crying, but like shouting and like standing up for yourself and showing your anger is probably harder for you. And it's interesting that you say it, and because everyone knows a girl who's like very like swearing a lot, like shouting and standing up for yourself, but probably she struggles to express her tears more and be this soft, vulnerable. Because
that's how they protect their delicate side, delicate and soft side.
So, and what other emotions are there more important emotions to release, or it's like every emotion has the same?
No. If we wanted to focus on one emotion that is the most important to release, I would say that we would judge the emotions. And I wouldn't like to do that.
Yeah.
Every emotion is valid. Some people struggle with anger. Some people struggle with sadness. I mean, when I say struggle, I mean suppress it. So they suppress anger and then they struggle with this emotion. For some people, it's just a shame.
Yeah.
For some people, it's fear and anxiety. And fear is also an emotion. It gets trapped in the body, and then it can create a lot of resistance to living your life to the fullest. It's connected to our first chakra, which is root chakra. And when people struggle with feeling fear, they usually run away from experiencing life in so many different levels. And sometimes it's okay just to feel the fear. Just to shake it out, the fear, and then go and do something else. Like if you have dreams and you store a lot of fear inside your body because your parents taught you to believe that there is danger that awaits for you, then you will never be able to reach your goals and dreams. Never. Because you will always fear that if you do something, if you step outside of your comfort zone, there is danger that awaits for you and something may happen that you will not be prepared for. So even with fear, it's important to feel the fear, feel
How
it
do
in your
you
body.
feel fear?
It's a great question.
Yeah, but I've never thought about it because we've talked about anger and sadness and shame and stuff, but how do you release fear?
You just sit with it. There's no other way than to sit with it and just feel the fear. So if someone comes and they feel a lot of fear, when I guide them through the process of releasing fear, I sit with them. Sometimes I hold their hand just to be the support, but I invite them and ask them, just feel it. Don't think, because usually people, when they feel fear, they go back to their head.
Yeah, they want to control it.
Yeah, this is like an instinct, survival instinct. So what should I do now to escape this situation? Because there is danger. And I just invite them, it's okay, just feel. Because every emotion lasts 90 seconds. And then it is being released. But we need to fully feel the emotion in order to discharge this energy. If we keep running away if we keep running away from feeling this emotion, then we will not discharge this energy fully. And it will keep coming back in a form of other triggers, so that we can discharge it fully.
And when would you suggest then someone to do it with someone else? Because maybe with the fear, it's good to have someone to hold you in that space and not run away. Like, is there like a difference, maybe like smaller emotions, or when you feel a little bit less triggered, you can do it alone? And when is it the right time to bring a mentor or healer or someone in to assist you?
I think it's very personal. Everyone can access their emotions and everyone can sit with their emotions. But when you sit with your emotions, I would suggest you to really sit with the discomfort, not to run away. Just sit with it and allow yourself to feel it the way you want to feel it and react the way you want to react. Don't go on social media to distract yourself.
Yeah, literally put your phone away.
Don't call your boyfriend because you are extremely angry at him and you just want to release it onto him. And just sit with it. And if you feel like you cannot do it with yourself, then ask for help. But I would suggest, every person needs a mentor. Every person needs somebody that will help them being guided during that process. Because when you are being shown how to release something once, second time, the third time, then it gets easier to do it on your own after that.
And you know what comes to my mind is, for me, I also felt a lot of shame surrounding releasing my anger. I mean, I couldn't, but if I thought about it, I was like, oh, but then someone's gonna hear me. I cannot be loud because I was so, I've always behaved this way. And what helped for me was actually I did a breathwork session, and a lot of emotions came up, and I heard other women or people in the room like screaming and shouting because they have probably more access to it. Or they just couldn't care. Their body was like, whatever, I need to shout, I need to move, I don't care. And then it almost gave me this permission for me to, she's screaming, so I can scream now. So I was laying there on the floor and I felt some emotion, but they didn't come to the surface. I felt them, like boiling, but they didn't come out. And then as soon as I heard this woman like shouting, like really like, ah, and I was like, and then right at this moment, everything like it popped open, and then I was releasing it. And so for me, it was like, it's okay. It was good for me to see it, to be in the environment of other people doing it. So I was like, now I have the permission to do it myself, because if they are allowed to do it, if they can do it, I can do it as well. So maybe for some of you is attending, like a group session, which is, especially if you are one who feels a lot of shame with emotions. Maybe you don't feel a lot of shame. Maybe you're like, I can be loud, I can scream. So maybe that's also good.
For me, I remember when I started tapping into my emotions, because I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a Pisces, okay? And also life path number 11, so I am very emotional. And I used to suppress a lot of emotions, especially as a child, because my parents were not really available emotionally, and they didn't know how to handle emotions. So obviously they didn't know how to help me. And for me, it was hard to open up to another person and show them my emotions, because I used to just hold myself myself back and not to show my real side, not to show my vulnerability, because I knew that my parents would just do nothing about it. So at some point I was like, I'm just not going to open up.
Yeah. What's the point?
Because what's the point? Just people don't understand me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why would I open up, show my vulnerability to other people if they don't react? They hurt me even more by pulling away, by distancing themselves or not reacting at all. So for me, especially at the beginning, it was extremely comfortable. I don't like that word, but I have to say it. It was extremely comfortable to work on myself and my emotions online. So I used to attend either workshops without turning my camera on. I was just this,
smart
ghost. Yes, I was there, but not
just
there.
Just the name on the Zoom called Klaudia.
Yes, exactly. But it helped me to feel safe.
Yeah.
To attend, to be there, to experience it, but not to be seen.
And you know what? You made your vessel bigger.
I was making my vessel bigger. Then I started attending one-on-one sessions with people. So I was present, I was seen, I was heard, but without other people, other eyes around me. And then I started attending workshops. So it was step by step. But especially at the beginning when I was attending those workshops, I was extremely fearful of judgment. So usually after the workshop, we share this is a time for feedback, integration. Everyone shares their whatever they went through. And every time when it was my turn, I was shaking like a jelly. I couldn't even
what am I gonna say?
Yeah, what am I gonna say? And it's like I need to be vulnerable now. I need to share my experience.
Wow,
and sometimes I just allowed myself to say, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to share it.
But that's a bold move as well.
That's a bold move, yeah. But then I allowed myself to just be in this environment and feel other people, see other people sharing their experience and being vulnerable and other people's reaction to it. So first I had to just see it, that it's possible, it's safe to do it. And later I started giving myself more permission to share it myself. So it is step by step. So I would highly suggest you, dear listener, don't judge yourself if you don't feel like attending workshops because you are afraid of judgment. That's okay. Start from basics. Maybe have one-on-one session. Maybe, just sign in for a course or a workshop that's happening online and you don't have to show your face. But do something. Don't allow this fear to stop you from experiencing emotions, learning more about yourself, being vulnerable, because it takes time.
Yeah. See this as a sign, maybe. For me, it's the most beautiful thing to do, because when you get, it's a way for you to get to know yourself better, your body. And it's so cool if you see the triggers, because now I know more how an anger trigger looks and feels like for me, so I can spot it easier in the future, because up until now it's like, I don't know. And it reminded me so much during the first anger release of my childhood. And I remember so clearly how I felt when I was a child and I felt angry. And I was like, it came back to me, but it was so far down, like pressed down, that I didn't have any access to it. And now you open the vessel and you're like more open to every emotion. Like you open your I would say, I don't know what your perspective on that is, but you probably open yourself up to maybe even feeling more happiness because there's like this whole vessel is for every emotion. And now it's more easy to feel happiness, to feel whatever joy.
Obviously, because there is more space for it. People think that we should only experience positive emotions. That's not true. It's like a rainbow. It has two sides. You cannot feel loved if you don't feel hate, if you cannot feel safety if you don't feel fear. It's like always two sides, and we need to experience both of the realities in order to just bring the balance. And if you start opening yourself up for sadness, for example, so you start releasing the sadness, you make more room for joy and happiness. Some people beat themselves up for not being happy, but I am like, but if you have so much sadness in your heart space, there's no space for happiness. So let's just focus on the sadness. Let's tap into that, and the happiness will rise naturally. It will come back naturally.
And it makes so much sense if you see it. Like, let's say it's a bowl of something and there's so much sadness inside, where should the happiness fit in?
Yeah.
And if you let go of the sadness, just
happiness will come back.
Yeah, then there's more space for all the positive feelings. It's also such a nice feeling, so just release it. Like afterwards, you just feel so good because you free yourself energetically and physically. I mean, I was exhausted afterwards, but it was like a workout. I felt good afterwards. I was like, hell yes, it's outside of me. And I mean, you could see it as an accomplishment. For me, it was definitely an accomplishment because I knew it was stuck there. But finally, I have the access to it. So it's also like a check.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like yesterday we were talking about like, what's the next trigger? Like we were just walking around. Basically, this whole trip is about, okay, finally release this one. So next one, universe. So what's the next trigger? It's like behind every corner is something. But it's also beautiful. Like we don't want you to feel like, oh, now I need to let go of all these emotions, all these different things.
Where do I start?
Yeah, where do I start?
Yeah.
It's just, like you said, it's just like,
wait for the trigger.
Wait for the trigger.
Deal with what is here and now.
Yeah.
If you don't feel anything, wait. Obviously, you can sign in for a workshop and see if something comes up. If nothing comes up, that's okay. But just wait for the trigger.
Yeah.
Or even ask yourself now, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Is there anything that's calling your attention? Maybe in your body, maybe your body is tensing, maybe your muscles are tensing. Maybe you feel like you want to open up your Instagram page and just start scrolling.
What triggers you?
Yeah, what triggers you? What are you trying to escape?
Yeah. So maybe it's a good thing to point out that triggers are a good thing to pay attention to when you want to release something, because what triggers you, there's something inside of you that wants to come out, because why does it trigger you in the first place?
I'll give you an example. I feel like I want to share this example. If you're waiting for somebody to respond and they are asking you for some space because they need to process their emotions, and obviously like if you're in a relationship or you're just dating somebody suddenly asks you, okay, I just need some space, or even literally ghosts you, pull away and say nothing, and all of the emotions that comes up after that, they can be overwhelming. And please, never blame them. Don't go back to them. Don't start to analyze them. Why they're pulling away? What is happening inside of them? Did I do something wrong? No, this is just a trigger. See the emotions that are building up. See the emotions that are coming to the surface that you are feeling in your body, and just feel them. How do you feel when they are pulling away? Do you feel insecure? Do you feel like you lost your stability? Do you feel anger and frustration? Maybe you feel sadness that they left you alone.
Maybe you're just pissed off.
Yeah. And don't blame them. Don't put it on them.
It's a mirror.
Yeah, don't try to, catch their attention and call them and say, oh, please just come back. I want you back. I cannot leave without you. No. In this moment, you should treat it as a trigger, as a sign. And obviously, the universe is giving you space to feel it through and feel it fully, so you can release it, because that's maybe something from the past that you forgot about, but it's still lingering somewhere in your energy field, somewhere in your body, and it's calling for attention.
Yes.
So if you were focused on fixing the relationship instead of fully embracing what's happening here and now, you're losing that on the experience. You're just, again, repressing what's really happening inside of you. And then, obviously you can call them and beg them for, attention or just beg them to come back. But then it will come back in a few weeks, in a few months, maybe in a few days, and it's going to be even stronger.
Yes.
So just
deal with it now.
Yes, deal with it now. Allow yourself time and space to just release it.
Yeah.
And then integrate everything that happened. And from that space where you feel like there are no emotions whatsoever, you just release everything, you feel peace. This is when you can reach out and ask, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you about it, but without this emotional charge.
Yes, you're probably more calm. You don't regret anything you say.
Exactly. And about the messages. It's so crazy when you get a message from someone and it triggers you so much.
Yeah. I want to share the example. I'm going to be very vulnerable and very open, but I had some things coming up, and I was texting someone from my past, and then I was, I really felt the need that I needed to reach out. Probably I was expecting I wanted the response to look a certain way, probably. And then, but it didn't, like, got the message back. Oh, and it triggered me like big time. It triggered me big time. And I was receiving, because we're 6 hours ahead, I was reading the message during the night and I was responding during the night, which was probably also not a good idea because I was in this heightened emotions but it was also good for later too, because it triggered me so much. So I was responding. And then in the morning, we talked about it. And then we were like, yeah, okay, this triggered me, blah, blah. And you asked the right questions. And I was like projecting on him because, yeah, it was a boy. And then you were asking me about how do you feel? Let's just not focus on him right now. Focus on you. Like, what did you expect? How do you feel? Why do you think that comes up? Blah, blah, blah. And I was journaling about it. And in the afternoon, the release happened. And then in the evening, I was like, I felt better. And I was listening, I was reading the message again. And it just sounded so different. Like I read it and I was like, why did I get so triggered in the morning? It's like, it sounds differently to me. Mm. It's the same message, but I had a different attitude. I was more calm. I released my emotions. And that's how you see, like, it was just a mirror. And it's like you have this distance. Now you see it from an outside perspective and you look at it, it's like, interesting.
That's when you can act from it.
Exactly.
Not from the place of scarcity, but from the place of just peace.
Yeah.
And now I can, so this person said something like that. Okay, how do I feel about it now? After discharging all the emotions that were connected with the past, how do I feel about it now? And how do I want to act on it?
Yeah.
This is called maturity.
Yes, I felt that. And in the evening, I was like, interesting. Like, it's so cool how... And we were talking about it, and it's also so crazy how these emotions, like, they blur your vision. Because it's like when you wear sunglasses, and in the morning I had different sunglasses on because I was like, this vision was with all these triggers and you see it through your filter. And then I released it. And then in the evening I put on another glasses and I felt like I saw it, everything was clear. I had a clear vision. I was calm about it and I could let him go. I could like, okay, this was nice. And then I even responded with another text message. And for me, this was exactly how it should have been. But it was so interesting to see how emotions
can blur your vision.
Yeah, they can blur your vision. And that's why also when you fight with a partner, it's always good to not have the discussion with these heightened emotions, because you probably will say something that you regret afterwards. Or it's just
important to give yourself space.
Give yourself space.
Where you can actually feel your emotions, go through whatever is happening inside of you now, and then come back in peace.
Yeah.
Just come back and then share whatever you've been through, why it happened, what's your perspective, but then you are not triggered anymore.
Yeah.
And this creates healthy dynamic between people and healthy relationships later on.
Yeah, that's really important, and really good to keep that in mind.
Right.
As a last question, I would want to know, what are your favorite methods to release it? So people can leave this episode with something practical, and like, because you told me like, you anger release and whatever, and I was like, but how? It's gonna be loud. How do I do this? Where do I scream? Because I don't want to rent a room like scream. Because what are your tips and hacks to do this?
Depends what your body needs at this moment. So really, I would probably suggest you the first thing to do is to find space where you can release it. Obviously, if you have a room, that's great. Some people do it in the car.
So, that's good.
Yeah, especially with...
That's good, actually.
Yeah, especially with anger release.
And in a garage, maybe there's no one around. That's nice.
Some people just do it in the car because they can drive somewhere and just, they are like in their containers.
Listen to music as well.
They can listen to the music.
That's good.
They can go to a parking lot or
that's
stop
good.
somewhere on the road.
Good tip.
And then release anger, especially anger in this way. But if you are at school or at work, toilet. It's a great place. Obviously, it's not so private, but if you don't have a choice, I would rather go to the toilet and release it there than don't do it at all.
Yeah, at least a little bit.
At least a little bit.
And then the rest maybe at home.
At home, because usually it comes back.
Yeah.
It comes back. If you don't release it, you suppress it, and it's going to come back as long as you will finally spot it and release it.
Yeah.
So first of all, find safe space where you can do it. Second of all, close your eyes and just feel feel. Sometimes people like to put a music on, especially if this is a dynamic release. Yes, like for example, anger. Anger is very dynamic in movement. So it's okay to play music that triggers you and helps you release, tap into those emotions and release them. But feel your body and ask your body, okay, so what am I feeling? And just feel, okay, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling sadness. Maybe you will want to shake. It doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah,
you can even lift up your legs and just shake them.
That's literally me. I was laying there like,
yes.
And if you would have seen me,
I mean,
crazy.
you can make a lot of poses.
That's why it's so important to be alone, probably, because then you don't have any shame, because like no one sees you. I closed the curtains. It was like pretty much dark. So I was like, okay, I feel safe. Do whatever you feel like doing.
Exactly. And just ask yourself, what do I want to do now? Do I want to cuddle a pillow? What would bring me comfort, or what would help me?
You want to go to the floor?
Do you want to go to the floor? Where is your space? Where is your safe place?
Yeah.
How do you want to move your body? Maybe you just want to, as I said, cuddle a pillow or assemble a child's pose. Yoga poses that they help very often. Maybe you just want to walk. And then just walk and talk.
Yeah,
you just
that's what I did.
And shake, for example. Maybe you want to start stamping. Maybe you feel a lot of energy in your hands and you want to just shake it out, or start punching a pillow. It helps a lot, especially, for example, some people go to boxing because of that, so they can release this energy from hands. Usually, anger is stored in our hands. That's why women should, I don't know, scissors or knives. I mean, I hope not, but
in the movies, you see when they throw the plates.
Books, plates, everything. But with men, that's why they fight. That's why they hit something and they break their wrists or hands. Because there's so much anger that is stored in our hands. If you feel it in your hands, then just, you can squeeze towel.
Yeah, that's good.
It really helps. You just squeeze it. You fully like embrace this moment, embrace this emotion, and scream it out loud, or just squeeze the towel. If you, obviously, many people live in apartments, many people live with someone, so sometimes the scream, it's not the most comfortable. So usually what you can do, this is called a silent scream. So you can take a pillow and then you can scream inside a pillow, and trust me, people will not hear you. This is such a great method. Or you can make this butterfly from your hands. So you just cross your palms like your hands, and then you close your mouth, and then you start screaming to your hands, basically. It really helps. Sometimes people just make the movement there, the mouth movement, like if they are screaming.
That's what I tend to do sometimes, at least.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, I don't know, personally, for some people it's helpful, but personally, I need to scream. If I feel like I need to scream, I just scream in the pillow. And I go like full volume.
Full on Klaudia screaming in the pillow.
And you know what? It helps. It really helps, because after the release, you feel peace and you feel calm. And sometimes releases are not so powerful. Sometimes you just need to cry a little bit. Like I did yesterday. I just cried for 5 minutes. I thought I would be releasing a lot. I was like walking, shaking a little bit. I was punching the bed. And then I cried a little bit. And then I just fell asleep. For 1.5 hours. I couldn't wake up. And this was a part of the release. We should never judge ourselves.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, because what if somebody doesn't feel anything?
Yeah.
And there will be people who will just sit down and they're like, I don't know what to do. And then don't do anything.
Yeah.
Just sit and feel. That's it. Sit and feel. If you sneeze, that's a release. If you start having a runny nose, that's a release. If you start coughing, that's a release.
Oh, I was starting to cough, which I never do. Yeah.
Sometimes you just bark or you fart. This is also a release.
True.
And you should never be ashamed of that. Sometimes you just start hearing those noises in your belly. That's also a part of a release.
Belly is probably also a release.
Oh, yeah.
Especially here in Bali. Like, also, an extreme release is throwing up.
Yeah.
Which is literally a release. Yeah.
I had many clients who were throwing up during the session.
Interesting. Wow.
So this is also a part of a release. Sometimes people get diarrhea. So I would say just don't judge yourself for how your body wants to release it. Welcome every part of you and every experience.
Be curious.
And be curious.
Yeah, it's also fun in a way.
Yeah.
It's not like fun like watching a movie, but it's good.
Yeah.
Stay curious. Don't judge yourself.
And it's also important to say that release happens in waves. So you may, like, for example, what happened to me yesterday. So I was like releasing anger by punching the pillow in the bed. Then I cried a little bit. Then I fell asleep. I woke up. I ate something. And then the second wave, okay, and then I started shaking it again. Then I started screaming. Then I started punching the pillow again. And this is when I felt peace.
Yeah.
So it comes in waves. Don't be scared if it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
Because maybe this is going to come in 3, 5, maybe even 10 waves.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to end after the first wave of emotions. Just allow yourself space and time for this to happen, and don't judge yourself if it's coming back. Because sometimes there are certain layers and certain layers of emotions, certain layers of just energetic charges that wants to be released, and it takes time to release it.
Yeah.
And after, sorry, I need to add something.
Yeah.
Because some people may ask, so when do I know that it's been released? When do I know that I'm free of it? You just feel peace. After every release, so go with the release as long as you feel the emotion. And when you finally feel like it's just, the emotions are calming down and you start to feel peace, that's when you know it's gone. You are free from it. You are released. You can feel extremely exhausted after a release. That's very common. So it's nice to have a massage. Also move the energy from the tissues and fascia, and you will feel peace. And after that, it's important to give yourself self-love, to just take care of yourself, do something that brings you happiness and joy, just to feel the void. Because usually when we release something, there is a void. And you want to fill this void with something nice, something highly vibrational. So do something for yourself. Treat yourself and give yourself a lot of gratitude and compassion for showing up and for connecting with your vulnerable side and sometimes even your shadows, because they are not necessarily the prettiest, but they are as important as the beautiful side of you.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good to mention. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, guys, let us know how you liked the episode. Also text us if you want any more tips, or like, maybe you're going through something, you can always reach out to us. And we'd love to hear your feedback. And we will see you next week in the next episode.
Yes. Dankeschön.
Dankeschön.
Meine Freunde. Tschüss.
Bye, guys. I love it so much.